Thanks, Heather. Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. We also have all this information available on our website, which is NC's and then /Luna at the end. So feel free to check back there for all of this information. But here we go. So welcome to the Luna Initiative. Our tagline here is Moonshot Ideas for the Planet. So what we're really trying to do here is think about how we can take big risks, big reward questions and use synthesis to help find solutions. So, as you can see here, the proposal deadline for this round is August 17th, and we'll chat through all the different ways we can help you kind of prepare for that proposal deadline um, and get these moonshot ideas in the hopper. So, um, the Luna Initiative supports early stage, high risk, high reward ideas with the potential to transform how we address environmental challenges. So, today, kind of the run through of today is we will talk to you about kind of how Luna came about, why it exists, what kinds of ideas we're seeking through this program, how the program works kind of from start to finish, and how to submit a proposal. And as I mentioned before, we really want to save time at the end for questions. So you can put those in the chat as we go. And then also at the end, we'll run through all of them. So why did we create Luna? So, I think there's growing realization that the environmental challenges that are facing our planet are growing much faster than the solutions we've developed. But a lot of the ideas for the greatest solutions don't receive the support needed to explore them. Moonshot ideas have the potential to change things, but they're also risky. So traditional funding doesn't often support these types of ideas. So the Luna model supports these moonshot ideas. And that's kind of the reference to our logo as well, the Luna moth. And what we're looking for ideas that are bold, unproven, cross-disciplinary, and traditionally difficult to fund. And we like to think of all of this program and the questions we're going to be asking through this program as starting with a what if. So, because big breakthroughs often come with a what if. So, for example, deep learning and modern AI started with a question like, what if teaching computers to learn could transform how we solve problems? And, at first that seems like a sort of interesting but impractical semi-academic pursuit. But right now, as we all know, it's transforming industry. And CRISPR really started as a curiosity driven question in bacteria about bacteria. And then it grew to what if we could edit the code of life? And it's changing the world on the health side of things. And even eDNA, kind of closer to the space we work in. What if we could detect all species from tiny traces of DNA left behind in the water? And as this has evolved, it's really starting to transform monitoring. A tiny idea, a tiny what if question is changing the way we not only do science, but also how we kind of adapt and monitor and manage our ecosystems. So here at NCEAS, we've been turning what if into impact for over 30 years now. Not all NCEAS programs fit this Luna model, but we have had some environmental breakthrough type programs, some moonshot ideas, and those are things like, what if we could detect ice plant invasions from space before they spread? So now we're working here in California to identify and respond to these invasions. We also asked, what if we could monitor permafrost melt across the Arctic in near real time? And our Permafrost Discovery Gateway program can now do that and help communities and infrastructure and planning for climate adaptation. And the science of marine protected areas was actually first developed here at NCEAS, over 20 years ago. So what if protecting part of the ocean could help restore the whole ocean? And one of the working groups here kind of developed the science of marine protected areas. That's now one of the most widely used conservation tools in the world. So these are sort of the example ideas that we're leaning on to say, if you ask what if questions with big ideas and use synthesis to try and help you, get at answering those what if questions, big things can happen. So we are thinking of Luna as a scientific moonshot incubator. So as NCEAS does, we provide the environment that's structured and help with facilitation to explore these high risk, high reward concepts. And we bring we're going to bring participants together sort of in our more traditional style, what we call working groups, to stress test these assumptions, explore the feasibility of these big ideas, refine the concept. You may start with one big idea, and we hope we can refine that concept through the Luna program and identify the pathways to impact. So this is sort of how we're thinking about our program. And we want to do all of this, find all of these solutions using synthesis science. So NCEAS has been doing kind of leading synthesis science for the environment for the last 30 years. And now we want to make sure that this Luna initiative takes synthesis science and applies it to potential moonshots. So just to give people sort of a background on synthesis science, it's the act of combining data, theories, and tools to gain new insights and answers using existing data. So kind of the key things with synthesis science is we use existing data, no new data collection. We are able to ask these large scale questions that are interdisciplinary, that cross, kind of boundaries that other people may not think to cross. And it's a great tool to help untangle what is known and what is unknown in a field, which can really help identify solution space and real world problem solving for the environment. So the process we have envisioned for Luna is funding for one 4-day meeting in Santa Barbara at NCEAS to help you all test these bold ideas before they're ready for kind of the more traditional funding routes. So our proposals are due August 17th. And from there, we will select 8 groups to fund for these incubator groups. These groups will convene between January and April of next year. So 4 days here at NCEAS where we help you dig into these ideas. And then there's a final insights report that we've put together for that we'll be doing right after your meeting. And the goal is not really, a finished project. It's determining whether an idea has the potential to move forward. And some of these projects that are started as an incubator will have the opportunity to apply for a full working group, a funded working group here at NCEAS, which would entail 3 more meetings over 2 years. So we want to see if these ideas have legs, if they have this potential to really move forward. And some of those one way they can move forward is into a full working group here at NCEAS. And we've been thinking about risk, from all different kind of perspectives, but we're really embracing 3 types of risk when we think about the kind of projects that we want to fund. One is idea risk. So bold, unconventional approaches that break away from sort of incremental science advances. Adoption risk. So evaluating transformative but unproven applications. And team risk, bringing together diverse perspectives and unconventional collaborations that rarely get to interact in this type of space. So we're kind of looking at these 3 axes of risk as we evaluate projects to say, are they challenging the traditional ideas of science around these types of risk? And we're really looking for proposals that are ambitious, novel. We want them to be solutions oriented, grounded in a real environmental challenge, and improved by bringing diverse minds together. So this isn't something, it's a little less traditional than some of the things we've funded in the past. So we're not looking for, the next little incremental step in a process towards something bigger, or the standard research projects or ideas that already have substantial financial or human support. And we definitely don't want this to be a traditional workshop. We don't want this to be funding workshops that people couldn't get funded in other places. We really want this to be sort of a challenge to think of new ideas, new bold ideas. And at the same time, you don't need all the answers. So, I think especially when you're applying for something that has an application process where you're having to put sort of a proposal together, you assume you have to have everything figured out, and you really don't for this. You don't need all the data in hand or the complete methodology from start to finish figured out, but you do need just a compelling idea, a network of interested participants. So make sure that you have the voices in the room that can really help you explore this idea and move it in directions that can be beneficial. Um, you want people in the room that are willing to explore uncertainty and kind of sit with the uncomfortable space of developing a new, potentially transformative idea. We want it to be grounded in the environment, in a real environmental challenge, like we mentioned, and have that. While you don't have to have the methodology figured out or exactly what you're going to do, we do want you to have a vision for the pathway to impact. So an idea that you can see making a real world impact. And our theme for this first cohort, our 2026 theme, is climate change. We will be having a second round of funding next year that will be all focused on oceans. But this year, we're interested in ideas that challenge, conventional assumptions around mitigation and adaptation, reimagining how climate solutions are developed or deployed, and could really fundamentally change the way society responds to climate change. So these are just some of the spaces that we've been thinking in. And it doesn't need to answer the questions, it just needs to convince us that this question is worth exploring more, and putting great minds to think about it from all different perspectives. So here's some sort of, example questions that we would love to explore in the what if space. And we've asked all proposals to their title, sort of the first part of the proposal is to ask this what if question to get your group thinking in this sort of what if space. So what if carbon removal could be verified continuously through space? What if communities could anticipate climate tipping points years before they occur? What if biodiversity became a measurable climate asset? And what if AI could identify entirely new pathways for climate adaptation? So really thinking big and kind of allowing yourself to take the idea you have and put it into a what if question that will help you kind of lead you through the proposal process as well. And these proposals will be evaluated across these 6 criteria. So, we want them to be innovative and risk taking, but also be grounded in reality. Like, can you meaningfully test this in 4 days to kind of see if there's next steps that are possible? And we want it to be grounded in solutions and grounded in potential impacts. So we will be looking across all of these as we review all the proposals, and scoring them appropriately. We put this table together just to sort of give you a sense of how we're thinking of Luna versus a traditional grant that you may get from another organization. So on the Luna side, we want the funding is for exploring feasibility, not demonstrating feasibility. And we're looking for, investigating uncertainty, not reducing uncertainty, challenging existing assumptions, not incrementally building on existing work, and developing the possibility of a project, not executing that project. And I kind of like this, that the success is the learning part for Luna. The success is not an end product results of this process. And so why should you participate? So you get dedicated time to be in a room with great thinkers thinking boldly. And a lot of this is going to be sort of unstructured moonshot thinking and ideas in a room with the people that you think can help you develop these things further. Um, you have access to these collaborators that you wouldn't otherwise work with, hopefully, thinking outside the box of the people who you usually put together to work on these problems, and think about what other fields, what other people could you really think creatively around a problem, and develop these innovative solutions that you might not otherwise come up with. We'll have facilitation and structured concept development help and support for you throughout the process. And we will really help, think of potential future funding pathways. And that could even be a future NCEAS working group as part of this program. And we hope that this kind of creates a safe space to support ideas that aren't, traditionally easy to fund and that give you space with collaborators to really think deeply about ideas and give you 4 days of that time together, both in our conference room, on our deck, but also out and about in Santa Barbara, having lunch together, walking on the beach together. Those are kind of some places that the biggest ideas come out of, and being together in person for 4 days can really help create that safe space and trust to be able to think more deeply and broadly about the questions you're asking. So what is this funding? NCEAS offers funds for travel, so everyone getting here and back, our meeting space, logistics, and facilitation support. So here's a little smattering of NCEAS spaces. For any of you who have visited NCEAS in the long ago past, we have a new building that we moved into in 2021 that is kind of built for synthesis science. We were able to remodel and kind of make the space the way we think collaborative groups can best use a space. After 25 years of experience hosting these type of groups, we've been able to kind of tailor our new space to our needs. But we do not support salaries, new data collection, or kind of field research, field collection. So we're not supporting individual salaries, and the funds are not actually transferred to your home institution. So you don't have to go through your home institution's, you traditionally don't have to go through your home institution's SPO or grant processing, because we will be reimbursing and you won't have to be actually writing a budget and full proposal. So the resources we have for you, if you go, these are hyperlinked if you're in the actual slides, but we have a request for proposals with an FAQ. The proposal template is really these 6 categories with some guidance on how to talk about these 6 categories, and it's actually a very short proposal template. And then we also have office hours every Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. So if you have any questions, if you're excited about ideas, if you just want to chat through your thoughts, anything, you can sign up for office hours to chat with me from 10 to 11 on Wednesdays. And we welcome everyone to join and just sort of talk through these ideas. If you want to talk through your proposal specifically, what we really want to do is support people in building these ideas and getting involved in this experiment with us. So we also want to help you get the best proposal together that you can. So come join office hours and we can just chat about any questions you might have. And you can continue the conversation like I mentioned in office hours, but we also have an email that you can feel free to email any of us, our website, and when also just follow us on Blue Sky. And now I think it's time for Q&A. So what moonshot ideas keep you up at night? Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Questions?
Thanks, Courtney. And I will just say the chat is actually only going to me and Ben. So I did put the link to the slides in the Q&A panel, and I hope people can see that there if they're interested. And then we'll also this has been recorded and it will be on our website, and as well as these slides if you need to access them there. I'm trying to stall to see if we have any other questions coming in. Here we go. For the application, can I apply individually? Do I need to find teammates myself and put together a team in order to apply? I'm not certain how to put together a team myself. If we need to put together a team ourselves to apply, is there a way to be connected with others who are interested in the program also?
So you do need to start thinking about if you have a big idea, who can help you dig into that big idea. So you should start to think about who from your network, who from friends' networks, would you want to have in the room to address this big question. So in that sense, you need to put together some of your own group to make sure that you have the right people in mind to really dig into this topic. And we've often thought about if people how to connect people through that want more sort of expertise in a space, and we haven't come up with a good solution for that. We will think about that some more and think if there's a unique way that we can do that for Luna. And everyone who is on this webinar, we will follow up if we have any ideas on that. But right now, I would say you do need to have a foundation of a team in mind to help you address these big questions.
Great, thanks. And are there any restrictions on who can be collaborators?
No, there's no sort of,
Amazing.
yeah, any, no real restrictions now.
And we also have a question around, can salary be included if the proposals advance?
No. So for
Right.
our full working groups as well, even our 2 year long working groups, salaries are not allowed expenses.
Right. This just covers your travel, and we try and make it as easy as possible. So we actually book a hotel block for you. We have a travel agent that you just call and tell them that you want to come. So those expenses are all paid for by NCEAS. And then participants actually just get a stipend while they're here to make everything as easy as possible, as little paperwork as possible is what we're hoping for. And then how big can or should these groups be, and can international groups come?
Yes, international groups are welcome. And we think the sweet spot for these Luna teams are, 10 to 12. Probably in that space allows for the best dialogue here at NCEAS and still getting diverse perspectives in. So I would say around 10 to 12 would be an ideal group.
Great. And then can you elaborate a little bit more on kind of the different Luna phases and the different funding opportunities? So maybe I'll just answer this question. How about
Yeah.
instead of me trying to read it? So basically this first phase is the incubator phase, where you would get one meeting for 4 days, and that is kind of what is covered. And then after that, part of those 4 days would be kind of trying to identify what are the right next steps for this. Maybe the next step is, well, that idea didn't work. That was fun. That's okay. Maybe the next step is, if we had more time, if we could get these people together in a room 3 more times over the course of 2 years, we could really, really do this idea. And there would be opportunity to apply for kind of a more traditional working group within NCEAS. Or, maybe it's just actually this idea would lend itself to whatever funding, more traditional grant funding, more impact investor funding. So, the incubator process is just funding this one 4-day meeting, but we're hoping through that meeting, we can help you identify additional funding pathways. And then just to clarify, around 10 to 12 organizations or individuals. So it would be individuals. I would say generally people are coming. Courtney, we can still see your screen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Generally people are kind of like one person per organization is coming, but they're also, depending on the question you're trying to answer, depending on the expertise within those organizations, you can have more than one person from an organization come to these events. And yes, travel for international collaborators is covered. Okay, we have kind of a question around ideal participants for this program. Is it targeted for current undergraduate students, graduate students, alumni, researchers, industry
All.
people?
Yes. So we always try to encourage as much career stages as possible. Sort of when we talk about having a diverse interdisciplinary group, but we were really talking about all different axes of diversity that you can think of. So I think the best groups from our traditional working group model have a little bit of everything, a little bit of early career researchers, later researchers, depending on the question you're asking, management folks, industry folks, sort of making sure that the perspectives in the room really add to expanding the ideas and can help you also, pinpoint the directions you need to be moving.
I would just add a small footnote on that is it's been pretty unusual to have undergraduates participate just because of the level of training that is often needed to participate in the development and execution of ideas. We're open to it, but just it would have to probably be a pretty extraordinary undergraduate, and you'd want to make a case for why that person I think would be necessary in the incubator groups because there's a smaller team for that. And the larger working groups, there'd be a little bit more flexibility for that, but it's unusual. So it's usually graduate students and above.
And I will just put an addendum, sorry, to the like number of participants. I'm so used to saying 10 to 12 for the larger working groups, but probably, I mean, maybe we can go up to that number, but the idea for the incubators is maybe more between 6 and 8 individuals. We're really looking for, as Courtney mentioned, the core people that need to be in the room to just kind of evaluate if this idea is going to happen. And then also through that meeting, part of the process is, okay, great, we think this idea is going to work. Now, who else would need to be in the room in order to make this a successful idea? And then the larger working group could have additional members. So kind of think of who are just like the key thinkers and doers that need to be in the room for this initial meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. I am looking at our RFP, and actually, what we have guidance for in the RFP is 8 to 10 participants.
Okay, somewhere in this,
Somewhere in that range,
clearly
yes.
we'll accept
Yeah.
this. But I always, let purpose be your bouncer. So we just again want to have like the key people in the room. With that, I don't see any more questions coming in. So this will be your last chance. I'll keep looking at it while we just say thank you so much for joining, and we hope to hear from you. And if you know other people that are big thinkers and think this would be fun, so feel free to spread the word about this because it is one of our new initiatives. So you all know a lot of people, so we're just trying to get this out to as many people as possible. Did I stall long enough? Let's see. Oh, see, some more questions came in. Perfect. Do all participants need to be identified by the proposal deadline?
No, I would have as much as possible identified. And if you know that there is an expertise that you would like to have, but are missing, please include that and say, we have these 6 individuals identified that are amazing, but you know what we really want is an economist who knows about, a specific thing. Put that in your table so that we all know that you know that person will really help you in fleshing out this idea. And then you can work as things develop to find that person, and we can maybe help in that process as well. So you should have
And that
sort of
kind
a
of goes
vision of
hand,
who needs to be there, um, and make sure that you articulate that in the application process.
and we have sort of another question on like any tips and tricks on how to find people outside of their current network. People are working on kind of siloed teams, and so this idea sounds great, but do we have any advice on how to reach out and find people to be part of these teams?
Yeah, I think it's kind of developing your network, like using your network to expand out with ideas. So thinking about ways that you can connect with people, maybe, who might have a broader network than you do that you're close with, and talking about these ideas. Um, and just finding ways to connect outside of your space with people who may come suggested to you from other groups. I think really asking the questions of the people you do have in your network can help you find and sort out who is sort of one unit removed from you at this point, but maybe a great addition to your group. Do you have any other ideas, Heather?
No, I mean, just probably general networking advice I give so many people is finding people on LinkedIn and asking them, like people like to talk about themselves in general. And so I think step one is understanding who you think might be needed to help you address this question. And then, yeah, like reaching out to your network or finding other people. And at least you're offering a great selling point, come to Santa Barbara for 4 days and think big thoughts. I think that's a great opportunity. So, yeah, that's about all I have for that. All right, questions have slowed. This will be your final opportunity as I let Courtney close us out.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Don't forget, we do have office hours to ask more questions. We welcome emails as well, if that's helpful. And we really look forward to developing these ideas with you. I think we are all trying to embrace this sort of like experimental opportunity and see where it can take us. So we really hope you'll join us and help us kind of develop this portfolio of big ideas that we can explore. So yeah, please stay in touch and please come with any questions you have. Thanks so much, and we hope to hear from you all soon.